Go ahead and get this party started. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Surprise, surprise. Ghislaine Maxwell, aka Jeffrey Epstein's little pimping partner in crime. That's what I like to call her. She is known for grooming the young women who would go to the estate, either of the estates of Jeffrey Epstein, and she would assist with the harassment, to put it lightly, sometimes participating in it herself with the underage women. She is suicidal. Surprise, surprise. When I saw this post, I immediately thought of Fiorella, because I don't know if y'all knew this, but whenever Ghislaine Maxwell was first arrested, Fiorella immediately tweets out, Ghislaine Maxwell did not commit suicide. Ghislaine Maxwell did not commit because everybody saw this coming. Now, this is according to the New York Post. It says that, and this is how they're framing it already. Ghislaine Maxwell's bedsheets, clothes, taken by feds to prevent suicide. She's gone from high-class designer duds to pure pulp. Accused Jeffrey Epstein fixer, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been forced to wear paper clothes and sleep on a bare mattress in her jail cell, so she can't hang herself with clothes or bed sheets like Epstein, according to a report. See, come on, bro. Now, we all know damn well Epstein did not kill himself. Epstein did not commit suicide. If you think that, bro, my mom don't even think that Epstein committed suicide. Okay, my dog doesn't think Epstein committed suicide. Now, although my dog might be smarter than the average dog, it doesn't take an intelligent human being to see the obvious. It doesn't take any... Listen, y'all. Do y'all know where Ghislaine Maxwell is being held at this very moment? She is being held... Let me see what... the name of the prison is called... The Metropolitan... It's called... Hold up. Let me pull it back up. I just lost my spot.
A task force set up by Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee.
My bad, y'all. But it's a jail referred to by a PhD at Brooklyn College. Her name is Jean Theoharis. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. It's referred to as a gulag. It is basically a modern day gulag, and the facility itself is called the Metropolitan Correctional Center. It's held people like Gambino, the mafia, John Gotti, the mafia boss, World Trade Center bomber, Ramzi Youssef, and some of y'all's favorite people, the always appropriated El Chapo. Some of y'all get that joke and some of you won't. Don't worry about it if you don't get it. The Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan is referred to as not being a normal prison, but one that is more similar as far as the conditions are concerned. It's more similar to like Soviet Russia or Iran, according to the experts, or apparently it's similar to the United States prison system, because you can't say it's like Soviet Russia or Iran when it's literally in Lower Manhattan, which is like where you would expect. It's like something out of like a Batman movie, right? Oh man, this Batman prison is almost, it's like in Batman, it's like them saying like, oh man, this is almost as bad as Rikers Island. Or it is as bad as Rikers Island, because it's basically Rikers Island but in New York or Gotham City. That's how bad this prison is, though. But do you know when that statement was made about that particular prison? About how dangerous it is, how it is ludicrous that Epstein will be sent there because prisoners die there regularly. They have too much. They're over capacity, at least as far as the males are concerned. One judge didn't even feel comfortable sending women there, no matter how dangerous they were. I mean, I just told you who clearly used to reside there. El Chapo. You know. The magician, clearly, because he's always disappearing out of prisons and ending up right back in Mexico. So clearly, this is a very, very secure location, right? This is a very, very secure prison. And that's why Epstein was sent there. And because we know how well this prison took care of Epstein, it only makes sense that we would expect Ghislaine Maxwell to end up in the exact same prison. Right? Because we've just established so much confidence in their ability to make sure people don't commit suicide. Now, I know what some people may be thinking. Well, she just went from a very, very luscious lifestyle. Of course, being in a prison full of rats that are as big as my afro might make you a little suicidal. That I would probably agree with. But when you have the information that Ghislaine Maxwell has, why would you expect to be staying in that prison if you know that eventually, because of your connections, you could get out? Or maybe the connections you used to have, the evidence you used to have access to, maybe you don't have access to it, and maybe those connections have been severed. And there's somewhat of a reason for that. Zachary Tietjian, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thoughts on Anthony Brown, Logan, and Brandon Tatum and the AA Trumpers? You should have a discussion. It would be thoughtful. Seen Uncle Tom documentary by Larry Elder. That was a very, very loaded question. I have to look into Brian Logan and Brandon Tatum. I'm not familiar with them. But I hope they're not like Diamond and Silk, Sweet Baby Jesus. And I have not seen the Uncle Tom documentary, although Larry Elder is dope. But I digress. Thank you very much for the super chat, by the way. Why? Some people may ask, well, why would you immediately think that Ghislaine Maxwell would be suicided, which is a term that we've all come to know and use, because, well, sometimes it takes two to suicide, apparently. You don't just kill yourself. You have somebody assist you when you're really powerful. Maybe that's what money buys. I don't know. But why would she do that? Why would it be done to her, I should say? Well, it's very simple. I want to remind you all of what took place whenever Acosta was questioned about the very lenient sentence he gave to Jeffrey Epstein right here in South Florida. He was told during his process to get into the Trump administration, or he was told during his Epstein investigation, but he then told this to his vetters while he was trying to get into the Trump administration. Sorry. He was told to back off. This is a quote. He's above your pay grade. Now, the only time that I really heard that phrase used in a serious manner, and I'm not joking, is in the military, because that is literally how our ranks are referred to when you're about to get a check for being a specific rank, pay grade. So if you're a private, your pay grade is E1 or E2 or E3 if you're private first class. If you're a sergeant, your pay grade is E5, E6, or E7 if you're a sergeant first class. That's what Peg is referring to. He was told he's above your pay grade. He actually only met with Epstein once, apparently, while he was sat down and had this situation discussed once, according to his own words. And he was told very specifically that Epstein belonged to intelligence. Now, whether or not that was U.S. intelligence or Mossad may have been brought into question, except for there was some brilliant reporting put out by none other than Whitney Webb. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her work, where she kind of answers this question for us. She even, at least through the proxy of Ari Ben Manash, who is a former Mossad agent, she even details exactly how Epstein got into the game, and guess who brought her in, or brought him in? Quite possibly Ghislaine Maxwell, because her father was none other than Robert Maxwell, who had one of the most high-profile funerals in Israel. The funeral was so high-profile that the damn prime minister spoke at Ghislaine Maxwell's father's funeral. It was that high profile. Robert Maxwell was his name, and the prime minister was very clear. People will never know just how much you did for Israel. And that's the quote. They also say, according to this former Mossad agent, they said this once again, you can look him up. His name is Ari Ben Manash. He was actually arrested in the past for moving weapons when he wasn't supposed to be doing so. He said he was Mossad, and of course, as you would expect, because that's what every intelligence community does when you're doing black ops. Whenever they said, "Bro, is he one of y'all's?" They were like, "Nah, bro. Every day y'all get people who lie about being Mossad agents." No, you don't. By the way, that's not a thing. You don't get that every day. Unless you get caught by the wrong guy who isn't, in the know. So Ari Ben Manash, who is a confirmed Mossad agent, said that Robert Maxwell, who is Ghislaine Maxwell, who is Jeffrey Epstein's pimp partner in crime, is a Mossad agent. And that Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein were recruited by Robert Maxwell. And of course, you all know how that story goes. They're supposed to be here to blackmail whoever they need to. Now, much like the United States, I would imagine that Israel does not like loose ends from their intelligence community being just left out there in the open. In fact, like the United States, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the OKC, the man who was supposed to be the OKC bomber. His name was Cody Snodgrass. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But the man was, I'd suggest y'all look up his interview. It's insane. It's scary. He was supposed to be the original OKC bomber. He was breaking down how there are official assets to the intelligence community and unofficial assets. He was undercover as a nuclear engineer. And he drew the line at attacking Americans on American soil. And because of that, combined with his willingness to testify against Bill Clinton and his corruption of the DEA and the ATF to fill up his private prisons, the intelligence community actually had sent his friend to tell him that if he doesn't shut up, they're going to take him out. Y'all know how they tried to arrest John Kiriakou, or they did arrest him. Y'all know what they did to Chelsea Manning, who is simply an military intelligence. Y'all have seen what they've done, how they do, how they move. We've seen it. You've seen how well connected they are. Ghislaine Maxwell has information on people like Prince Andrew, people like Bill Clinton, potentially even Donald Trump, which could explain why he's so damn friendly to the Israeli government. Y'all have to also remember this. Israel has the largest lobby in Washington, D.C. Y'all do know that, right? So if you have the largest lobby in Washington, D.C., and we all know that Washington, D.C. is largely and mostly controlled by the military-industrial complex, and the military-industrial complex always seemingly benefits which country more than any other, even more so than ours? Israel, right? If you have financial control over the military-industrial complex, then you probably, or excuse me, if you have financial control of DC, who is the direct, let's just say the liaison of the military-industrial complex, if you will, how could you not have control over the intelligence community? And better yet, what do you do for people where money can't buy you anything? If you're somebody like Prince Andrew, there's no amount of money that the Israeli lobby can bribe you with that would make you just do what they want you to do. But Israel, at least the government, I should say, has been very clear about its goals, especially under Netanyahu. They plan on expanding. That has been their goal. It was never supposed to be a fair exchange between them and the Palestinian people. And in order to get away with what you want, you got to have the right people on your team. And not everybody can be bought off by money. And that's where Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell come into play. I mean, think about it. If you did, I don't know if Donald Trump, and I'm about to get to these super chats in a second, but I don't know if Donald Trump is absolutely guilty, because I know that compared to like Bill Clinton, he barely flew on, I think he flew once or twice. It was like a round trip on Jeffrey Epstein's jet. But I also know, and it was because it was reported down in South Florida, that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago resort. Like, he kicked him out. The details of that argument haven't been really revealed, but I do know that if there is anything that Trump seems to fall for, it's young women. And how do you bribe a billionaire? With money. Epstein ain't got that much damn money unless you're going to give him the whole check. You know, Epstein's whole net worth, or he didn't have that much money. Didn't. Past tense. Just saying. The Raven, thank you very much for the super chat. Sparky, what's going on? Arkansas, yeah. Tony watched closely. Got to show some support. Thanks, Niko. I appreciate you, my friend. Glory Jones, what's going on? That Netflix documentary on Epstein was like Epstein for liberals. It fails to go into the 100%. That's facts. It did implicate Ghislaine Maxwell more than had been previously done, though. So I give them props for that. And it did allow those women to finally tell their stories, which I do believe is important. But I mean, let's be honest. It was damn near like an episode of, NCIS, right? Jay Bird, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. But yeah, people, we've seen how this story goes. This is Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's pimp partner in crime, going to the same prison that Epstein got suicided in, with the same type of connections, actually even deeper connections than Epstein had to the intelligence community, like her father literally being intelligence, participating in some of the same lewd behavior, criminal behavior as Jeffrey Epstein, has the same information on Prince Andrew. Some would argue, people, because y'all know that Epstein was considered not to necessarily be the brains of the operation, but more so, he was a smooth operator, right? He was the one who could talk they say that he could talk someone off of a ledge. That's the kind of guy he was. So nobody ever they found him curious, but they didn't think that he was criminal. But that's just the kind of personality that he had. Gislaine's probably the brains, which means she was always kind of this is my kill switch. And she's been hiding out all over Israel, apparently, until she was captured. But you got to wonder, though, is she being captured or is she being protected? It's a good question, right? Because they know what she has, because they know she likely has a kill switch. Do you really want to end her life or even give her a reason to think you might end her life? Because she's been in custody for longer than she would like, I'm sure. So she's like, so what are y'all about to do? Because if y'all got to do what y'all got to do, and I'm about to do what I got to do. And as El Chapo showed us, yeah, that prison might have horrible conditions, but I imagine the staff is so corrupt that it don't take but one or two good connections to get escorted right out the back door. Right? So maybe she was not lying about all the evidence she has, and this suicide, because she's suicidal, she's wearing paper clothes now, could be a plot to protect her rather than take her out. Because it's just hard for me to believe that they would take out somebody like that. Ghislaine Maxwell is way too intelligent to not have a kill switch. If Julian Assange, who was implicated in uncovering so much information about every big government around the world, had a kill switch and has a kill switch, why wouldn't Ghislaine Maxwell, who on the other side of that coin, for different reasons, also has a bunch of information implicating a lot of major world governments and world leaders, why would she not have a kill switch? That is stupid. You can't be this successful so thus far without at least being smart enough to take precaution in that regard. Gabriel Card, thank you very much for the super chat. Love the content. Keep up the good work, Niko. Regards from Sweden. Man, I might have to move to Sweden. It's a little bit too cold, though. A little bit too cold. I mean, Miami been like record hot lately, but record heat over record cold every day of the week. I'm just saying. Life of Brian, thank you very much for the super chat. It was actually Epstein who flew on Trump's plane. Trump said to Epstein, never be late to another man's jet. That's actually pretty funny. I wouldn't be surprised though. But I thought it was both. Unless it was conflated, which happens. So if that is the case, then I apologize. Frank Analysis, what's going on, man? What's up, Niko? If Israel agent theory is true, you think Epstein is still alive somewhere? Yeah, I do believe that Epstein is still alive. Y'all have to remember, this is a verifiable fact. And Israel intelligence is the best intelligence in the world. They are the best intelligence community as far as gathering intelligence in the world. This is an undisputed fact. We give them so much money because of their talents in that department. A lot of technology is developed in Israel because of their talents in that department. Israel's goals 95% align with the goals of the United States as far as imperialism is concerned. However, some of their goals are bad for PR, if you catch my drift. Some of their goals, some of the rhetoric that comes out of Netanyahu's mouth, you can't pretend to be on the right side of history, or at least anybody else's history other than your own. Not in today's world. And at that 5%, yeah, the goals might be similar, or even the United States might be indifferent to some of their causes because they just don't really care about anybody unless it costs them or makes them money. But at the same time, because of how much money we give them, the United States usually has to make a choice. And if they don't make the right one, and it leads to the condemnation of Israel, like for say, if Israel decides they want to take the West Bank, like they're planning on doing, like Netanyahu's planning on doing. At least he's trying to. He's getting a lot of pushback. But I think the United States even pushed back on him. And if the United States pushes back on something that Israel does, then it becomes a problem, and it gives kind of a green light to the rest of the world to say what they really feel about the situation. Now, how do you ensure that the United States and the rest of the world plays ball? Well, you take some of their most coveted leadership and you put them on a string. And that includes kind of Epstein to a degree. He was able to use Wall Street to launder his money. Bill Clinton had people from his administration in his during his term. They stayed there during Bush's term. They stayed there or came back during Obama's term. All from Bill Clinton's administration. U.S. attorneys were connected to him. DEA and ATF officials were connected to him. Yeah, we know Prince Andrew is a creep. We know it was him who was implicated. But part of the reason I believe that Harry left, other than the fact that his family's racist as hell towards his wife, but I believe that Prince Harry left his duties because he knew something was coming down the pipe. And so you know that all you have to do is implicate Prince Andrew, and the rest of the family will follow. Because they're worried that other things might get exposed while you're exposing your creepy relative, who looks like a creep even without the Epstein stuff. Man just looks like a creepy dude. So in order to, you got to kind of set the precedent. If you are Mossad in that scenario, you have to show, if you're going to do the most, if you're going to commit the most egregious of crimes, the most disgusting acts imaginable for the good of our supremacy, then we have to show that we're going to protect you at all costs. Even when it's totally ludicrous. The story is totally ludicrous. It's, Epstein, even though he had all this information on all the world leaders and former world leaders and assets and governors, literally governors of this country, I mean. Hell, even Israel's own leaders, most likely. If you got all that information, how the hell do you end up in max security prison and suicided? How do you end up not being protected? That's one of those situations when you end up in prison and you're overprotected because you're valuable. Unless you got El Chapo'd right out of there. Just saying. It's not like this isn't like a crazy concept, people. Like, it really isn't. I know it sounds like something out of a movie, but if you have seen the movie, it's very similar. And it's funny, I was talking to my friend's father the other day about just how crazy it gets with the Delta Force and special forces when they're working with the Delta Force and when they're working with intelligence overseas. He was like, there are some people that are so deep in cover, you would never know. And that's by design. Like, you would never know that they were like American, or if they're Afghani intelligence, you would never know that they were Afghani until like you talk to them about it. And that's by design, because if they get caught, their mannerisms and everything that they were doing when they got caught has to be so out of like, nah, you can't be from whatever country we think you're from. At least you have plausible deniability in that regard. So like Epstein, I don't know if he speaks Hebrew, like Israeli Hebrew, because Yiddish and Hebrew is different, although the characters look the same. Like it's still written, Yiddish is still written in Hebrew, but Israeli Hebrew is supposed to be a little bit, I guess, more modernized and colloquial. Like, you gotta look different. If anything, you would be quicker to say he was American intelligence, right? That's what would be the initial thought, because he's American. He hung out with American people. He hung out with American politicians mostly. Yeah, well, they would also say that's what Israel. Wouldn't you say that if you were like Mossad, if you were the Israeli government? Yeah, look at him. He was American. He was raised in America. Why would he be Mossad? Doesn't even speak Hebrew. Come on, he's not one of ours. That's what they always say. That's literally what intelligence communities say. If you become an asset, you are not, or if you get caught as an asset, you're not one of us. We're disowning you. But there are some situations where you got to protect your asset. Also, fun fact, unless I'm mistaken, I know y'all haven't even thought about this, because we it's funny because how much we've seen Epstein discussed, and I've seen some of the most elaborate Epstein discussions over the last maybe 6 months or so. But have y'all ever thought about this? All this stuff that Netanyahu has been indicted on, all the drama he's going through and he went through, have y'all heard anything about one single Israeli high level, like prime minister, minister of defense, any of them being caught on that flight list with Epstein, being framed? Have y'all heard anything about that? So y'all telling me this man got United States officials, governors, world leaders, royal family members, former presidents, wives of former presidents, but you just so happen to not get any Israeli prime minister, no minister of defense or minister, they got, it's very similar setup out there, but they call it minister instead of secretary. No minister of nothing, huh? Wow. So the sociopaths running Israel right now, we just supposed to believe are just rays of sunshine. They just exude innocence and altruism. That's just really weird. That's super, super weird. Even Trump, who some people even think is innocent, ends up on that thing and he's a president. Like, and obviously it happened before he was a president. Some people believe that's why he was allowed to be president, because he could be blackmailed, which is not an insane notion. But you try and tell me that Netanyahu has been in charge of Israel for almost 20 years now? I feel like it's been a really long time. I think he might have took a short break, but basically 2 decades. And nothing on him or any of his officials. That's so interesting. Did we get another super chat? See if I can find it. Oh, Sparky, aka Deadman Switch. Yes. And yes, Glory, I do like the humidity. So there. It's good for my skin and it's good for my hair. So stop judging me, okay? Bees are tropical people. But that's what I got to say about that. Ghislaine Maxwell absolutely did not kill herself. There's almost nothing you can do unless we saw it right there on camera. And I don't even believe, like, if you had a camera, then you wouldn't have to deal with the suicide, I would imagine. So there's nothing you would be able to say to convince me that Ghislaine Maxwell killed herself, because that's antithetical to the whole reason to have incriminating information on people. It's not only to serve whoever your handler is, but it's also to protect yourself. Why would you commit suicide if you have the information that will make anybody else commit suicide to protect themselves? Just saying. Why did you say Larry Elder is dope? Isn't Larry Elder the bald black guy who used to have a show, the one who like roasted Obama on that on the Correspondents' Dinner? Because he talked about Obama dropping more bombs than any other president, killing more of his people, killing a lot of his own people. Like, he was going in. He was kind of, you know, he was nice about it by the end of it. Like, he was like, oh yeah, this is play for banter. But it made Obama sitting here like, oh, damn, bro, chill. In fact, Larry Elder, like, I think lost his show very shortly after that. So, but that's going to be it for today, people. Make sure you like this video and share this video. Leave a comment below. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else,
more than anything else,
always remember,
find your balance.
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.